Well, it's everyone, it's Matt Mrozik, and this is the latest piece off the workbench. This is a quarter scale Wolverine produced by SNIKT. SNKIT, I think is how you pronounce that. And apparently that's the sound that Wolverine's claws make when they hit together. So I Googled it. This is sculpted by, oh my gosh, I forgot. It's not Franco. It's the name's on the back. I'll get to it. Only 15 were made. This is 35 were made. This is number 15. As you can see, we get some switch outs here. I just got done taking photos, so I'll put a slideshow at the end of the video to show you the pictures. I also took a couple photos of him with the saber tooth, so you can see those two get together and see the size difference because it's pretty dramatic. You can see here it's a relatively small piece, so it takes up a small footprint. He's only, let's see, 17.5 inches tall on the base, and relatively shallow, and he's only about 12 inches in diameter on the base. So you can see we got some switch outs. He comes with 2 torsos, and the second torso has a switch out right arm, and that's it. And then he's got 3 heads. So really cool piece. This is an ownage kit, so the fit was perfect. I had no prep. I had nothing to do, nothing to fix. So really nice kit. So a lot of times people ask, well, why are these things so expensive? Well, first of all, you got only 35 of these made. So that's your first reason why they're expensive. You have the cost of the sculpt, which can be several thousands of dollars depending on who you've hired. I kind of know what Franco charges, and he's expensive, but he's worth it. You got the cost of the print from the factory. So ownage, best company around that does this kind of stuff. The print alone is probably $4,000, $4,000 or $5,000 just for the print. And you have the moldings and the castings. So that's why these things are expensive. And then you have to hire a painter like myself or paint it yourself. So, you're looking at a lot of money to have something like this, but you have 1 of 35. It's a killer sculpt, and he was a lot of fun to paint. So a couple of things I did a little differently on this. My client gave me some references, and I kind of just did my own thing based on those. The yellow, I went a little punchier on the contrast. I think it works really well with this sculpt. Typically, I would blend it in a little bit more, but I'm like, oh man, that looks really good. So I kind of stopped, and he dug it, so I just left it as is, and it looks great. Slightly lighter blue than I would normally do. The shoulder pads are more reminiscent of what I would typically do on like all the blue, but he wanted a lighter blue, so we did that, and it looks great against this yellow. And with the slightly darker shoulder pads, it all works really well. Skin tone looks great. The portraits turned out nice, so everything turned out great. I did a couple live broadcasts on this. The first one, I think I did like the skin tones, and then yesterday I did a live broadcast on doing the bases and the extra stand. So I don't want to spin around too far because I don't want these claws to nick this paint. So my only critique about this kit is when I first opened it, first I thought I was missing 3 claws, and I thought I was missing a shoulder pad because he's got 5 gloves and claws for 4 gloves. So on the extra torso, when you switch out the arm, you have to switch out the claws and the shoulder pad. To me, I think that's taking a shortcut. When you're spending this kind of money on something like this, throw in an extra shoulder pad, throw in 3 extra claws, because I don't like having to switch out the claws, even though they fit just enough to stay in. They are a little loose. I'd rather glue the claws in and make them permanent. Same thing with the shoulder pad. Anytime you're having to switch things out and move things around, the chances of scuffing or chipping paint increase. So that's just my only crit. Other than that, everything was great. Especially a little dark on here to brighten up just a hair. There we go, somewhere in there. But yeah, fun piece. Took me right at 40 hours to do. I think I told my client 45. He's like, I'm hoping it takes 30. He's like, I've never finished something like this in 30 hours. That's 3 days. It's not doable. I'm surprised I got it done in about 40 hours. And then I've got to also include the time of taking photos and packing all that stuff. This guy's local, luckily, so he's going to come pick this up today. But overall, he's really happy with it. I'm happy with it. Relatively simple piece, but great pose. I love the sculpting in the torsos. I love all the muscular. It's on the verge of being too much, but it's just enough. I think it's a good kind of, it's kind of a cross between a Franco sculpt and an Eric Sosa sculpt, where Eric Sosa tends to really exaggerate musculature and kind of go over the top, and Franco tends to kind of stay more natural. This is kind of right in the middle, which I kind of like. But the yellow took a long time. So the way I did the yellow is I did all the white highlight just using white. I used a warm white from Tamiya. I added white highlights over everything, and then I went into the shadows and did like a reddish brown in all the shadows. And then I started layering yellow onto, similar to what I did with Sabretooth, but I just kept the contrast a little higher, which I think works really well. All the black on the arms and the waist, that's all hand painted. Same with the boots. The blue, I did all the shading on the boots and then hand painted all the black. The belt was partially hand painted, partially airbrushed, and then I did the base yesterday on video. So the claws are nice. They're nice and shiny metal claws. They look great. I actually like this torso better with this pose. That's kind of cool right there, but I actually like this setup better. I'm not a real fan of the outstretched arm. I probably won't even put that on in the video, but he's got an arm that comes all the way out. But I just tend to like this look better over here. So it's pretty simple. As far as what's glued on, I was finishing up yesterday and talking to my client. So right now, obviously the torsos come apart because you need to be able to switch them out, but the boots are glued to the legs are glued to the waist. All the gloves and arms are glued together. So I got this glued to this, the arm is glued to the torso, and the shoulder pads are glued to the torso on that guy. Same thing on this one, except for obviously the shoulder pad and the arms are not glued, so you can switch them out. This does need to go back in the boxing. This is local, so I can't glue the claws on. He may do that on his own. But let's come in and look at some of these portraits because they look really good, I think. They turned out nice. Let's get focused. Focus, Danielson. Come on. Just wanted to focus on the background. I want to focus. Focus. Come on. Why is this not focusing? Ugh. Okay, 1 second. Okay, I know, because I can't switch lenses while I'm recording the video, so I had to stop. Anyway, so I'm going to bring my exposure down to a little more accurate. Let's see. Sorry. I guess somewhere in there, maybe. It's looking a little washed out in camera. Anyway, hopefully it'll look better in video. Anyway, the portraits turned out nice. A little tricky because the teeth came separate, which I thought was a great idea initially, and then I hated it because they were kind of a clear plastic, and I tried to make them use that to my advantage, and it just wasn't working. So I eventually just glued them in and painted them like I normally would, and they turned out way better. So my client wanted white teeth, and initially they were pretty white. I started off like a warm gray, and then add white highlights, and then do all the gum work and stuff. And he's like, "Hey, can we tone the teeth down?" So yeah, sure, no problem. So I just went in with a brown wash over everything, and it toned it down perfectly. So now they look a little grimy, not so clean. He's a smoker, so his teeth should be a little grimy. So there's the unmasked portrait, which I think is my favorite. And we got this guy with the short, I forget what it's called, but it's he's got the short, whatever, fins on the head. There's a lot of subtle details in the head, a lot of subtle sculpting that I brought out with the shading. You can kind of see it there. He's got some indentations and stuff. So I brought that out. Worked on the hair on the arms quite a bit because initially my client had me scared about the hair on the arms because he's got a lot of hair. And some of the paint-ups, man, they just drew hair on it. It looked really bad. So it took me about 4 tries till we got to where we wanted. So you can see he's got hair on his arms, but it doesn't look furry. It looks really good. And I just do that some very, very light dry brushing. I know John Allred paints each hair individually. But if you dry brush it right, if you do it correctly, you can dry brush the hair without getting paint on the skin. What happens is people get paint on the skin and then it just looks dirty. It doesn't look like hair. It doesn't look like individual hairs. And then we have the open mouth portrait here. I'll switch out the torsos here in a second. Just like that. Okay. Oh, you can also see on the shoulder pads here, I got the battle damage on those. So I did some battle damage, just some chipping effects and painted the scratches and stuff. Turned out really nice. Okay, so now if we switch out the torsos, another little crit of mine is that when you put this torso right here in my hand, I'm taking off the body. When you put this on the extra stand, the claws of the left hand hit your tabletop. So the stand should have been. So when I put this on, these claws, those claws are touching the table. So the stand should have been about a ½ inch taller, and that's it. that's my other gripe. So it'd have been nice if the stand was like about a ½ inch tall, even a quarter of an inch taller would have been good. All right, so let's put some heads on this guy. So I like the unmasked portrait. I like this one the best. The other one's okay. Sculpt on the back looks really good. And then the base is relatively simple, just some rocks. I just try to simulate like a river, like a watery riverbed here. I just did with some airbrushing, had some different tints, and then that same water effect I did on the saber tooth, but the rocks turned out really nice. I started actually with a really, really bright purple base on the rocks, and with a combination of washes and dry brushes, we got this kind of nice natural. Add a little bit of mud effects to the boots. Didn't dirty them all up, just the soles of his boots. Looks like he's been outside. And there you go. That's really it for this piece. Not much else to say. Nice kit again by Ownage. Again, I just have a few small crits. I think they should have given extra claws and an extra shoulder pad for the switch outs, and the stand should be about a quarter of an inch higher, in my opinion. But there you go. Nice piece. There'll be a slideshow at the end of this, so stick around and watch that. And as always, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. Bye.